The Concacaf World Cup qualifying Final 8 is set to start. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Filippo, host of CanMNT TV. Welcome to the channel, and today we're going to be doing a full preview for the Concacaf World Cup qualifying. I'm going to talk about all 8 nations, every single one of them, and then at the end of the video, I'll give you my predictions, my full table, and I'll give you my reasoning to why I picked each nation to stay where they are in the table and who will make it to Qatar in 2022. Feel free to comment yours. So yeah, remember, the roster will change in every single camp. All players could change in every single camp, so a lot's going to happen, and it's long. This World Cup qualifying starts in September and ends at March of 2022, so a lot can change. But comment your predictions down below. I'll try my best to get one right. Now, before we start the video, let's run the OneFootball giveaway, sponsoring the channel, so thank you OneFootball. While the giveaway is going on, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and comment your prediction while the giveaway is on. Let's give it OneFootball. Thank you OneFootball once again for sponsoring the channel, but look. This one's not about us. This is about you, because OneFootball is doing a giveaway for our viewers. So thank you very much, OneFootball. But let me explain. For the month of August, we have an amazing event, the MLS All-Star Game versus the Liga MX. You know, just another opportunity for the United States to crush Mexico like we did all summer long. We can just keep it rolling for another win. So for this, OneFootball will be doing a giveaway of one MLS All-Star 2021 jersey for a fan based in the United States. So go on the link down below, do your download, follow the instructions, and enter the giveaway. I might enter it myself. So thank you once again, OneFootball, for the giveaway. Thank you for sponsoring the channel, and hopefully the United States can continue to beat Mexico on the MLS versus Liga MX All-Star Game. Wait. Before we roll the intro, okay? One quick thought that you need to know. The coaches can bring more than 23 players to camp. So as Greg Berhalter has said for the US, he'll bring 26, 28. Expect other national teams to do something similar, all right? So it won't be 23-man rosters, even though I do believe only 23 players will be available for each game. All right, now we can roll the intro, and let's start talking about the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying. Before I dive into every single nation, let's do an overall preview of where you can watch the game, where it's going to go on, and how to qualify, blah, blah, blah. Let's go through a full preview and then do each nation. The final round is here, and we have 8 nations left in CONCACAF to fight for 3 direct spots in Qatar 2022 and a spot for an interconfederate playoff match with a team from another federation. Yeah, so technically we have only 3 spots, and the 4th one you have to go play a team from another federation if you finish in 4th to qualify to Qatar in 2022. The United States missed the last edition of the World Cup, which, yes, it was a disaster, Cuba 2017. And we could be worried for this one. I mean, it's fair to be worried because of past trauma, but to be fair, we shouldn't really be worried about this edition. We should be able to make it, but that's a topic for later. Let's keep going to the preview. The last time we had a total of 6 nations for the final round rather than 8, and this does play a role, I think, to benefit Mexico and the United States. You do have more room to make mistakes and recover. Depth will play a role as well, which is something Mexico and the United States are ahead of most nations, and we will have camps with 3 matches. So yeah, some camps will have 3 matches in 1 week. Actually, 4 out of the 5 camps will have that, which means rotating players will happen, and the teams with more depth will benefit from it, aka the United States is one of them. So as I said, we will have a total of 5 camps throughout the qualifying. It'll start September of 2021 and will end at March of 2022. Out of these 5 camps, we will have 4 camps with 3 matches and 1 camp with 2 matches, adding to a total of 14 rounds. So the 14 rounds, essentially what they mean is you play 1 game away and 1 at home against all teams. The World Cup qualifying can be watched at Paramount Plus streaming service, and no, they're not sponsoring us, I'm just telling you where you can watch it. You can also watch it on TUDN and Fox Sports 1 as well. For some games, I believe Paramount Plus will have all of them. Fox Sports 1 and TUDN might only have the games played in the United States. It depends on where the game is played, essentially, okay? But these are the 3 places you'll be able to find the games: Fox Sports 1, TUDN, and Paramount Plus streaming service. Okay, now let's talk about every single nation, and I'm gonna pretty much do it in alphabetical order. Might change one or another right there. So the United States will be the last one. We're gonna start with Costa Rica. Let's dive into every single nation, and at the end of the video, I'll give you my full table predictions. Feel free to comment yours down below and hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And regardless of the nation you are, hit the like button because I will be covering your nation as well. All right, let's start with Costa Rica. Los Ticos come into the World Cup qualifying with many many different questions in regards to this roster. In the last edition of World Cup qualifying, they were able to finish in second in Concacaf and make it to Russia in 2018, where they would end up going on to finish in last of their group in the World Cup. But at least they made it. Look, Costa Rica has been able to qualify to the past 2 World Cups, and in 2014 they even had an impressive run, making it to the quarterfinals, losing to Netherlands in the penalty shootouts. The current generation still has players from the 2014 run, such as Brian Ruiz, Joel Campbell, Keylor Navas, Celso Borges, and even Francisco Calvo, that even though he's only 29, so technically he's in his prime, the other players have aged, and despite them still having a lot of quality and being effective even in CONCACAF, they're way past their prime. There's no questions in regards to that, the many players I just listed. I guess we could say Keylor Navas is still technically in his prime. He is fine, but he also needs to be healthy for Costa Rica. One young player to watch out for is Randall Leo that plays from Nashville in MLS. I think he can play out a big role throughout qualifiers. Alan Cruz, the center mid for FCC, also plays for Costa Rica. And Matarita, the left back, is another player we're going to see feature in Costa Rica throughout the qualifiers. During the Nations League back in June, their coach for Costa Rica was Ronaldo Gonzalez, which he was fired right after they finished in 4th. And now they have Luis Fernando Suarez as their new coach. And during Gold Cup, they somewhat were looking better after winning every match in the group stage. But then they went on to lose to Canada, and I know it's tough to judge, they were missing players, but so was Canada. And they lost to Canada, which shows Canada, another rivals they're going to have for our qualifier, might actually have more depth than Costa Rica at the moment. Which, as I said, depth will play a big role in this World Cup qualifying, bigger than ever. Suarez also does prefer to play with wingers rather than a 4-4-1-1 formation that we often saw with Los Ticos under the previous coach Gonzalez. So Costa Rica will be fighting to go to their 3rd World Cup in a row, which it won't be easy, and most certainly they're not among the favorites. But it's CONCACAF, and they have qualified to the past 2, so we have to include them as one of the teams that has a good chance of making it to Qatar in 2022. That wraps up for Costa Rica. Now let's talk about Canada. What to expect from this Canadian men's national team? They are living through what's debatably the best generation of Canadian soccer, and I know, maybe not the best as in accomplishments, because they did win Gold Cup back in 2000, and they do have a World Cup participation in 1986 at the World Cup in Mexico, which they lost all the games. But look, this current generation is most likely the most talented, and there's really no questions asked right there. Now, the question that remains here is, can this team make it to 2022 Qatar? Or are they going to have to wait till 2026 to play a World Cup at home, which they're one of the host nations, so they're already qualified for 2026. Making it to 2022 World Cup can do wonders for Canadian soccer, as they can build some momentum coming into the 2026 World Cup to help grow the sport in the country as well. Now, as for the last CONCACAF World Cup qualifying, they failed to make it to the final round, unlike this one, which they qualified by rolling over Suriname and Haiti during the pre-knockout rounds to make it to the final 8. Now that you're all caught up on that, let's talk about this current generation and why it's special. And no, it's not just because of Alphonso Davies and Jonathan David. There's more to it. So when we talk about Canada, you'll often hear it's a one-man squad, Alphonso Davies alone essentially. But some people will add on and say it's a two-man squad with Alphonso Davies and Jonathan David. And none of that is true. That's just lies. There's more players in this roster and some pretty good ones. As those 2 players are the ones that most certainly have the biggest impact in the team, there are several high quality players, and many of them showed off during the 2021 World Cup, when I'm going to talk about them very soon, along with the fact that John Herdman, their coach, did a pretty good job dealing with the injuries throughout Gold Cup. So I was quite impressed with John Herdman's in-tournament management, and that's going to be very important, along with in-game management as well. Canada made a deep run and almost knocked out Mexico in the semifinals. Kyle Larin has been big time and showed his ability to provide goals, especially in CONCACAF and playing for Besiktas and Canada as well. Both teams, he's been fantastic. Former Orlando City man that has been great for both national team and club. You add to that Eustáquio, one of the best players in the 2021 Gold Cup and one of the best 6s in CONCACAF. He did a fantastic job in midfield, along with even scoring goals. Buchanan can be a big difference maker, as he's versatile, can play in the wing, can play the fullback position, and he has been one of the best players in MLS, if not the best player, and a move abroad is imminent. That's going to happen if it hasn't already happened at the time of this recording, and I just haven't seen it. Now, we can't also forget Colorado Rapids' recent signing, Mark Anthony Kaye in the midfield. Jonathan Osorio from Toronto FC is a great player. The team is good, and the coach seems like he's good as well. John Herdman has been seeming to be doing a good job so far. Sorry, it's John Herdman. I said it wrong. But okay, I complimented Canada a lot, and they also do have issues. One of the issues I see with this team is depth. I don't think the bench is anywhere near as good as the actual team. The other problem we have to talk about is their defense. Their defense is most certainly not at the same level as the midfield and the forwards. Those are two problems this team will have throughout qualifying. But they really have a shot on making it to the top 3 or even the top 4 and fight for a spot in Qatar 22. It's very realistic in the moment for Canada to make it to the 2022 World Cup. We will likely see them play with a 3-in-the-back formation, giving the wingers or the wing backs, whatever, or midfielders or left mid, right mid, a lot of freedom to attack. And that can be Alphonso Davies. Maybe Larea can do a good job. He did a good job in Gold Cup, Buchanan, whatever it is. That's likely what we're going to see from Canada, but expect a lot of variations when it comes to John Herdman. So that does it for Canada. Hopefully they do fight for a spot. I hope Canadian soccer continues to grow. Let's talk about the next nation. Okay, the next nation is El Salvador. In the last edition of World Cup qualifying, La Selecta was not able to make it to the final round. However, at the time they were coached by Ramon Maradiaga, and now they have Hugo Perez. With Hugo Perez in charge, and the team is looking much better with him, and they made it to the final 8, and I myself have been guilty to underrate this squad at times. I don't think they're a top dog by any means, but they can cause trouble to a lot of big nations such as the US and Mexico. Look, most of the success has to be on Hugo Perez. On paper and individual talents, the team really isn't that talented or great. It's very well organized, they have the right mentality, and home games can be a difference maker. When you look at the players available, you see players like Alex Roldan from the Sounders as one of their main players, Darwin Cheddin from the Houston Dynamo, Zavaleta that plays for Toronto and doesn't even start there, I believe, as their center back. Moreno is one of their creators and he plays for USL. So I don't think the team is that talented, and they will struggle with depth as well for sure. But if Hugo Perez can continue to do good work and pull out results at home, I think they can surprise many people, including myself. Honestly, you guys already know by the way I talked about it, I don't expect them to make it to Qatar 2022. But Hugo Perez has done a pretty good job with them. It's just that he might not have the right resources to get the job done. La Selecta has participated in 2 World Cups throughout history, one of them in the 1970 hosted by Mexico and 1982 hosted by Spain. Man, it's been a while. Almost 40 years later. Can El Salvador make it back to the World Cup? Okay, now we've reached Honduras. Los Catrachos. For the last edition of the World Cup qualifying, Honduras was able to finish in 4th ahead of the United States and make it to the Interconfederate playoffs, where they would go on to lose to Australia and miss out on the 2018 World Cup at Russia. Honduras has been fairly successful in the past 3 World Cup qualifying, making it to South Africa in 2010, making it to Brazil in 2014, and essentially hitting the post in 2018. Hitting the post means they almost made it. I mean, they lost in the Interconfederate playoffs. It's just a term we use in Brazil quite often. Along with many successful qualifications to the Olympics for their men's soccer program. They most certainly deserve respect, and they can qualify for sure. Their current coach is the Uruguayan Fabian Coito, and he has been able to get the best out of his players, and most certainly the best in recent history, as we have seen how they played in Nations League with their A squad. They gave the United States a lot of trouble. They almost beat the United States A squad, along with when they played Costa Rica, and they actually beat Costa Rica in penalty kicks. This is a very dangerous team in transition, extremely physical, very, very physical, and playing them in qualifiers away is going to be very, very tough. Albert Ellis, Kyoto, and Lozano are most certainly the most dangerous players when it comes to goal scoring threat and hold-up game, and even mostly, honestly, in transition. This team is just very dangerous in transition. We saw this several times, especially when the United States played them. Brian Acosta from FC Dallas is one of their key players in the midfield, and I'm looking forward to watching some of their young prospects such as Rigoberto Rivas this qualifiers. Veteran Maynard Figueroa will likely be there and likely be their captain as well. The 38-year-old center back from the Houston Dynamo is still one of the key players for Honduras. This is a very, very Concacaf-like team, and they've had many success in the past few editions of World Cup qualifying, and they made it to World Cup because they just suit very well how the qualifiers work. Can they repeat it? Now we're off to Jamaica, the Reggae Boyz, and probably the most unpredictable team we have in this qualifiers. We really don't know what we can get from them. Only thing that's certain is chaos, especially when it comes from their federation, the JFF. Jamaica only played in the 1998 World Cup and nothing before and nothing after, but this time it feels a little bit different when it comes to talent, at least. If the federation and coach Whitmore can figure it out, this team can cause trouble and maybe qualify to Qatar. Ethan Pinnock has been pretty good for Brentford at the start of the Premier League. Combine that with Liam Moore or Damien Lowe, that's a pretty damn good CONCACAF defense right there. Without counting on Andre Blake as well behind the defenders, one of the best MLS goalkeepers, if not the best, alongside Matt Turner in my personal opinion. Now you add Ravel Morrison and Bobby Reed to the midfield, that looks promising. Kamar Lawrence on the left back. Then up top you have a player of Leon Bailey's caliber that's now in the Premier League for Aston Villa. Mikel Antonio from West Ham, which he's supposed to be there, but we won't know. He's one of the dual nationals they claim they have. We won't know until we see the roster. There's been many fake reports, so we don't know who will be there. They have some very interesting English Jamaican dual nationals that could play for them. Mikel Antonio apparently is confirmed. If they can get all that, this is one of the top Concacaf teams. Look, on paper, this is one of the toughest teams anyone can face in Concacaf. But when push comes to shove, they're very hard to trust. We'll see. I will not bet on them making it for now, unless they get all these issues sorted out, especially when it comes to the coaching. The coaching is not the best. But can this team make it? If they have it sorted out, to me, they're a top 3 team. If they can get all these dual nationals and the coach can get the best out of them. But it's very hard to trust Whitmore. He's been there forever and it hasn't worked well. But that's Jamaica for you guys, the Reggae boys. Let's move on to the next one. Now let's talk about one of my favorites. L3. The summer was most certainly not the best for L3, but at the same time, if we look into it, it wasn't the worst either. If you check it out, they actually beat pretty much every CONCACAF nation. I guess they tied a few here and there, but they beat most of them and they only lost the United States essentially. So if you do that, you qualify in CONCACAF. The last time Mexico did not qualify for a World Cup was in 1982, and the last time they did not play in a World Cup was in 1990, but that's because they were banned. Now the risk of not making it is real, and we do have to raise some questions in regards to Tata Martino's decision, one of them being playing Chaca Rodriguez over Sanchez from Club America, still playing Salcedo, Rodolfo Pizarro still getting called up from time to time. Why is Johan Vasquez and Cesar Montes not starters for the senior squad? Maybe even both, actually, to be honest. In my opinion, that's the best pair duo they can do as the center back position. I don't know, maybe L3 fans will disagree. That's something I firmly believe. There are also questions on how Hector Herrera and Guardado will perform. They have 3 games in a week, so they won't be able to play all of them probably. They are older than they once were. Maybe Hector Herrera can, but Guardado most certainly cannot perform in a high level all 3 games. Also, Raul Jimenez, he's coming back, and that's big time for Mexico, but is it the same Raul Jimenez as before? If it is, they're getting back the best center forward in CONCACAF. If it's not, it's definitely going to hurt them, and then maybe Funes Mori will have to step up. But I do think Raul Jimenez is still better than Funes Mori, even if he's not the same as before. As I do believe that Mexico has a lot of depth, especially when compared to other CONCACAF nations, I would be worried of a few things. Plus, most of their guys did not get the summer off. Now, this team continues to have some super talents like Chucky Lozano, Tecatito, even Diego Lainez, one of my favorites. I think Diego Lainez is a super talent. Even though I make fun of him quite a bit, I do firmly believe he's a super talent. Edson Alvarez is one of the best players in CONCACAF as well. Can play as a center back, can play as a 6, mostly as a 6, very technical player. That's another player to watch out for as well, and actually pretty young as well. And as I said before, rejuvenating their defense can be key by having Sanchez as a right back, Arteaga on the left, Montes and Johan Vasquez as the 2 center backs. That can be key for the short and long-term goals of L3. Plus, Vasquez just made a move to Genoa in the Serie A, and that will most certainly make him a much better player over the long term. Nothing is granted. I think they do qualify for the 2022 Qatar World Cup, but maybe it'll be something more like the 2014 qualifiers where L3 kind of struggled to make it and relied on the United States helping them. All I know is Tata Martino's under pressure, and they really enjoy taking all our American dual nationals, but I don't think that's going to be enough, and I don't even think they're going to have an impact on this squad right now. With that said, that's all I have to say about L3. We'll see where I'm going to place them later in the prediction on this video, the final table at the end. And if you haven't already, hit that like button if you're an L3 fan as well. And everyone else, it really helps the channel. Let's move on to the next nation. Okay, we got 2 nations left. We're going to talk about Panama right now, and then last but not least, the United States of America. Panama arrives at the final 8 with a very controversial round against Curacao. And I know it's a little bit off topic, but maybe Curacao should have been here instead of Panama. Panama comes into the World Cup qualifying also trying to repeat their huge accomplishment in the last edition. Panama qualified for the first time ever in World Cup and played in Russia 2018, where unfortunately they got unlucky falling in a group with Belgium and England, so they end up losing every single game, allowing 11 goals and only scoring 2. We know the games in Panama City can be tough, and Panama will have to get results at home if they want to have any chance on repeating what they accomplished on the last World Cup qualifying. They are currently managed by Thomas Christensen, a former Spanish national team striker, for a bit at least. He played a little bit with him, and we'll see if he can get the job done with the players that he has available as well. On paper, they're actually not that bad. Purely on paper. I would put them ahead of El Salvador on paper, per se. I wouldn't say they're better than El Salvador. We'll have to see when they play. But on paper, they have a couple better names or more talents than El Salvador, in my personal opinion. Murilo's a right back for Anderlecht and one of the best fullbacks in Concacaf. Experienced center forward Gabriel Torres that plays for Pumas at Liga MX, even though I'm not sure he's starting there. Quintero on the wings. Barcenas as well is a very talented player. Aníbal Godoy that plays for Nashville is usually a part of their team as well. There's a lot of question marks in my personal opinion. We'll see. It'll be a big surprise if they make it to this World Cup, but so was it in 2018. So who knows? I'm not expecting them to make it to Qatar in 2022, but they surprised us in 2017 to make it to Russia. Can they do it again? We'll see. Now, the US men's national team, and we have a new team, a new coach, a new era, and it's time for us to put Cuba 2017 behind us. This team has superstar players in CONCACAF such as Christian Pulisic, Serginho Dest, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, Giovanni Reina, John Brooks. The team is strong. We also have depth. We can look at our bench right now. We have players like Brendan Harrison, Conrad De La Fuente, Timothy Weah, maybe even Anthony Robinson, DeAndre Yedlin, whatever it is. We have 3 great goalkeeping options. The team has depth. The starting 11 is strong. There is no excuses for this team not qualifying, but keep in mind, we had a successful summer, and in 2017, we also won Gold Cup, and we failed to qualify to Russia in 2018. And I know, some are going to say Mexico brought their B or C squad in that Gold Cup, but we beat other CONCACAF nations. You don't have to beat Mexico to make it to the World Cup. You have to beat other CONCACAF nations. We can lose both games to Mexico. If we beat all other nations, we're going to make it to Qatar in 2022. We are the strongest nation in CONCACAF alongside Mexico, and there's no excuses to not qualify, along with Mexico also not having excuse. Plus, another bonus here, not really a bonus, it's unfortunate, but because of COVID restrictions, some nations won't have fans. So when we play away games, which are very tough in CONCACAF, the fans might not be there. That will benefit the United States for sure. For example, the first match we play against El Salvador, they're supposed to not have fans. That will definitely help the US men's national team. Now, as I said, I do believe this team is strong. I do have some question marks in regards to Greg Berhalter, especially when it comes to the transition phases, right, of our formation. So you have your defensive shape, your offensive shape, and the 2 transitions from defense to offense and offense to defense. And if you have noticed, when we played more defensively throughout Gold Cup, we were not very efficient in the counters. And when we were attacking teams, when we were pressing and attacking, maybe in Nations League against Honduras, for example, we were not very good on defending in transition, which means Greg has a good shape and formation for us on the defensive setup, the offensive setup, but it seems like the transitional play is not working. So we have to keep an eye on that, and I just wanted to point out that mistake. That's something, after I start looking into the US in the summer again, it's an issue I noticed. With that said, I expect Greg Berhalter to figure it out. I expect this team to out-talent many opponents, get the result done, and most certainly qualify to Qatar, obviously. I don't see that not happening. But now that we're done talking about the US men's national team, and you have commented your prediction down below, I'm going to give you my prediction. And don't forget to hit the like button while you're at it. Let's go to the final section of the video, where it's probably where everyone skipped to just to see the prediction. Okay, so my final table prediction has the United States in first, Mexico in second, Honduras in third, which might be a surprise to many, Canada in fourth, Jamaica in fifth, El Salvador in sixth, Costa Rica in seventh, and Panama in eighth. The United States, I have them in first because I just believe we're the best team in CONCACAF right now, and we have enough depth to deal with the CONCACAF in general and the tough camps with 3 matches in a week. Mexico, I still rate them very highly. I still think Tata Martino is a great coach, and he will figure out they have the talent to be first or second alongside the United States. In third, I think Honduras will surprise many by getting many good results at home and grinding out some draws away, getting in third place. Now, Canada will be one of the surprises. They'll finish in fourth, and they're going to have to go to a interconfederate playoff to grind it out and make it to Qatar in 2022. But I think Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, Kyle Larin, Tejan Buchanan, and Eustáquio will be enough to carry this team alongside, because I think Jamaica and the Federation won't figure it out. I think Jamaica will be ruined by its Federation once again. I believe they won't get all the dual nationals they're promising. It's going to be a mess. If it was in regards to talent, I would actually have Jamaica in third place. But because of a bad coaching staff of Whitmore and a bad Federation, I have them in fifth. Now, sixth place, I have El Salvador, very well organized team by Hugo Perez, and I think they'll finish ahead of Costa Rica, because Costa Rica will struggle with age and depth in this. In Panama, I have them in eighth, as I do believe they overachieved last time, and I don't think they're the strongest team in this CONCACAF World Cup qualifying. Alongside, I do think they won't have fans in the stadium for the first few rounds. That can play a role as well in Panama City. And that is my full table. Once again, United States, Mexico, Honduras, Canada, Jamaica, El Salvador, Costa Rica, and Panama in that order. Alright guys, that does it for the preview. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you learned a little bit about every nation. Hopefully you comment your prediction. Hopefully you hit the like button. Hopefully you subscribe. Hopefully I didn't annoy you guys too much. I want to thank you all very much for watching. And well, have a great day.